Welcome to your Profitable Law Firm podcast. I'm Kelley Brubaker, your dedicated host, passionate about empowering law firm owners. Let's dive into the hidden strategies that lead to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. This is where overwhelm transforms into confidence, enabling you to create and enjoy your dream firm and your dream life. So this week on the podcast, we've got Nicole Black. So Niki, if you want to, can you just give us a background, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm really excited to be here. Looking forward to talking to you. I am an attorney. I practiced law for a decade here in Rochester, New York, in a bunch of different capacities. And for the last 13 plus years, I've been with My Case, which is now an AffiniPay company, along with CasePeer, DocketWise, and LawPay, which are all software and payment tools for the legal industry. And my role since 2012 has changed a little bit over time, but essentially I've always served as the bridge between lawyers and tech, internally and externally. So internally, I provide a lot of insights and almost analysis about the industry and how lawyers think and how lawyers practice. And then externally, I educate lawyers about the intersection of law and tech there was a couple books that I'd written. And I speak to lawyers at conferences often, and I also write 3 different columns for a number of different legal outlets.
Nice. Yeah, because I think I discovered you just through some of your social media stuff. And so it's refreshing. I love the content you put out, just to be able to so many law firm owners I talk to are a lot of them are like, they're either very awesome, want to be in the top of the tech, or they're at the opposite. There's no middle ground, it seems. And a lot of times I feel like I'm talking to people and I'm like, yeah, but if you just would do this one thing, your life would be so much easier. And there's distrust. It's the whole, I don't know, I don't trust, it's going to cost too much money. I don't like change is really what it comes down to. And from my perspective, I'm sitting here, oh my gosh, we have all this technology available to us. Me as a CPA, I would have never, ever survived 100 years ago. I wouldn't have even survived. I was born in 73. So I would have not survived in the 70s and 80s because they had punch cards and that was still complicated. Ledger paper and all that, I would have never made it. So I came in at the right time for me. And so I look at things and say, but just think about how much easier things would be. And I think some people don't like the word easy. I think sometimes people say they want to think things need to be hard. That's sometimes the feeling I get, but as if it's almost not practicing law if it's too easy.
Right.
So what are your takes on what kind of, when you talk to different lawyers, do you talk to more who are in the camp of, I want to do all the things, anything I can get my hands on tech wise, or is it more of you're dragging people into convincing them this is the right thing?
That's been really interesting. First of all, I just wanted to say you have a great online presence as well. And I
Thank
appreciate
you.
all the content you post. It's been really interesting over the years in terms of lawyers. And so the answer is 2-part. One is, depends on the lawyers I'm talking to, practice areas, geographic location. I'll get different reception to tech. But then also, when was I talking to them? It's a lot easier now than it was when I started this. So before the pandemic was a little bit of a tipping point. Before the pandemic, lawyers were very resistant to tech. They always and continue to be risk averse. Change management can be hard, and they're suspicious and cynical. That's what tends to be a universal trait with lawyers. And so,
yes.
before the pandemic, there was a lot of resistance most of the time, but not always. But post pandemic, since lawyers were forced into using technology, they understand the benefits of it, right? And start to trust the cloud more finally. And then with generative AI rolling out, and that's a technology that's very easy to appreciate once you've tried it, its potential value, because the interface is so user-friendly. So now it's an easier sell. There's a lot more interest, especially in generative AI. But again, it depends on the practice area. It depends on geographic location. Metropolitan lawyers tend to be, but certainly not always, a little more tech receptive.
Yeah.
And it depends on sometimes the age, but not always. You'd be surprised about that. But
And I actually, now that you said location, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because I'm in Ohio, I'm just south of Cleveland. And so I've had a similar experience. Geographic, I forgot about that. But you're right. The age thing, I I do, it does seem like the older are a little bit more hesitant, but every once in a while you get somebody who's just, nope, I'm ready. I'm all in. Let's do it. So it's pretty refreshing
Yeah,
to not have to drag somebody.
that happened at when I first started talking about generative AI at a conference. A lawyer who must have been at least 80 came up to me and said, and this was very early on when there were significant concerns about hallucinations and there were no legal tech products that sort of could
Yeah.
offer a reduced hallucination use case. And he said, the way that I check the results is I'll take one or two, or sometimes even three different generative AI tools, get the results from one, and I'll ask the other one if those results are correct. And then I'll ask the third one. And I'm like, that's a great idea. This guy was like at least 80. So I was pretty impressed with
That's awesome.
he thought of something that hadn't even occurred to me. So you never know for sure.
Yeah, I actually just started doing that, but only because I typically, my go-to seems to be Claude, and then I'll go to Chat GPT, but Claude times out a lot on me because I'm doing the free version of it. And so it'll time out. It'll come back, not really time out, but it'll say like too many attempts, or you've reached your max for right now, or what, however that works. And so I'm like, oh shoot, we had a good thing going. So then I have to go and copy it over to Chat GPT or to Copilot or something different to see what that result is. But it's amazing to me what I've had a couple of attorneys say, there's no way I'm not using AI ever in my practice. And I'm like, time out. I'm not saying you're going to write a motion or a brief from AI. I'm saying for me, it's, I'm in it every day, and it's, hey, I want to write a post, but I can't quite put a succinct subject to it. And so then what are some good posts to talk about? And then it'll come back and say, here's 15 things you can talk about. And I'm like, oh, now I'm good. Now that I have a succinct title, I can then go with the direction. That's how I use it. And I love it. It's amazing.
I like
So
ChatGPT Plus. I've had a subscription since February of 2020. And we also have ChatGPT Teams, and I have an account with my company for that.
okay.
But I think of ChatGPT as like this little assistant on my shoulder that
Yeah.
whenever either I'm struggling with something or I'm like, I totally don't want to deal with this right now. Like sometimes Kelley accreditation, they'll be like, we want you to create an outline after you give us this description. And so I'll just pop the description and create the outline. Like it's just this like extra
Yeah.
work. And I've already drafted the description and it creates a great outline with the time references that they need. And it takes a second instead of me putting it off for 2 weeks because it's just busy work and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I do that
Yeah.
all the time. I use it for when I'm about to put something on the back burner because I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, wait, can I get this off my plate right now with
Yeah.
ChatGPT? And oftentimes the answer is yes. So I love using it that way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm similar. I didn't even think about the little angel on the shoulder. So that's a good reference. I like that. So
Sometimes
no,
it's
that's awesome.
really helpful. And sometimes it's the devil when it gives you those hallucinations. Keep it in mind, but
No, I'm with you. I definitely understand. So I know that you do a lot of different podcasts and webinars and a lot of speaking events. And I feel like there's times where people are like, here's what we're going to talk about. Like they're telling you what to talk about. Is there ever a question that you wish somebody would say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or, pick a subject, let's talk about it. Is there something that you never get asked to talk about that you would love to be able to share with people?
that is a good question. And the things I love to talk about are emerging technologies. And because that's also what I write about, I'm often asked to speak about the things I want to talk about because it's the latest
Yeah.
cutting edge tech. I do feel like more often than not, I'm getting asked to speak about my current like hyper focus, whatever that might be. Sometimes I enjoy sometimes those broad overarching instead of talking about a very specific topic. I really do. And often work these into my introductions to my talks, but I love those broad sort of overarching big picture talks. And often those are more like a keynote, but even with keynotes in legal, they'll often want a very specific focus. So you don't
Yeah.
get to do that as much. So I think that's probably what it is. I think those are the most fun where you can look at change over time, where you can show how we got where we are and look at these different data points. And so I think that's one of the things that I think that I wish I could do more of. But either way, often get asked to speak about topics that I'm really focused on at a particular time. So it's still really enjoyable to talk about them.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. So how do you, because like now we're in this time where, because I feel like coming through the 90s and the early 2000s, like tech, there was a big boom. But now I feel like things are just hyper speed. I feel like every day there's something. So how do you stay on top of there's new stuff that's worth pursuing or keeping an eye on? Like, how do you keep up with all of it?
So my a good part of my morning is spent on that every day, and it always has been. So I will check out what my colleagues are saying. Lately, it's just only been on LinkedIn. It used to be Twitter and sometimes Facebook, and LinkedIn was like a footnote. But it's interesting how over time that's transitioned. And so I do spend time on LinkedIn, seeing what everyone else is talking about. I'll often find an ethics opinion that I wasn't aware was out yet from some of my colleagues or some other piece of news or guidance. And then I'll post my own post or whatever to social media. And then I have an RSS feed. It's called Feedly. There aren't a ton of RSS feed readers around, but that's the one that I
Oh yeah.
used to be a ton of them, not so many.
Yeah.
I've curated a bunch of different legal tech blogs, um, and then just tech blogs, and I will go through that feed, and that helps me see what's trending in the overall tech space, what's trending in legal, what are people talking about. And then I also save the ones that are interesting for the weekly roundups that I do of tech news that kind of caught my eye. And that also helps me decide what am I seeing that's trending that I want to talk about in my next daily record article, which I write weekly. I write my Above the Law once a month, and then my ABA journal is a little more specific. That's more focused on different kinds of software. So I just have to choose the software, the type
Oh,
that I talk about each month. But for those other two,
right.
I often try and figure out what's trending. And it also helps me with, because I also wear a press hat and am considered a legal tech journalist as well. And it just helps me also see what's just happening generally and with competitors, quite frankly, because I do work for a tech company and I like to see what everyone else is doing. And that helps me with the internal advice and guidance that I provide too.
No, that's great. Yeah. So what's been a big discovery that you've had that you had to keep it a secret because like it wasn't public knowledge yet? Has there been anything that you're just like, oh, I cannot wait until I can release this?
There's been a bunch because I've been with a tech company that has been acquired 3 times. So each one of those acquisitions was a significant event that I had to keep under the radar.
Yeah.
So each of those was significant. The first company that acquired its Appfolio IPO'd, which was cool. And I had to keep that under the radar for a bit. And also releases like our generative AI release, for example. There's big things that we're releasing internally at my case and LawPay and Case Fear and Documents as well that you can't share. So that's always certainly things personally within my job. But then because I
Yeah.
legal tech press, I also get a lot of the scoops ahead of time from press pitches from the different companies and their PR agencies, and have even had some of the larger Thomson Reuters has flown some of the press out sometimes to a different location, usually New York, for a big. They're going to have a big press release and they want to give us the scoop ahead of time, and so those have been cool as well. I think the ones I'm always most excited about are the internal ones, obviously.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when I started my career, I was in Big Four accounting at KPMG. And yeah, so some of the IPOs would come in and you're like, oh, yes, I'd love to be on the due diligence team, but I can't talk about it. So I was actually on one of the teams that it was one of the first digital banks. And we actually just named it eBank because we didn't know what else to call it. And it was one of our clients who was creating a separate company just to have an electronic, completely internet bank. And so those were so hard to be able to not tell people like, oh, there's so many good things coming.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So is there something to like flip and is there something missing I think I just discovered something a couple weeks ago that's missing, but is there something like legal tech solution that you wish existed that doesn't? Like there's a real need for something that just isn't, there's not a solution for it yet. Is there a problem that could be solved, do you think?
One thing that is cool about being part of the company that I'm part of now, quite frankly, I knew you were going to ask this question. And I was thinking about it a lot. And the fintech stuff that we're releasing is stuff that no one else does yet. So the smart spend, the expense tracking, and like a Brex card for legal, that
Yeah.
our smart spend is something that no one else has done that is actually an incredibly valuable product for lawyers, a tool to help them manage their expenses and prevent internal fraud and be able to
Yeah.
track and capture every expense. So that's actually one thing that truly is really unique. But also some of the other things, the legal fee loans that we offered as well to help connect potential clients with lenders who can give them a loan to retain the lawyer is another thing. And so there's a lot of really creative things in the works as well that are one of those things I can't talk about, but
Yeah.
that solve
Yeah.
a lot of those for lawyers that nobody else is doing. So that is one thing that is really interesting. in terms of a gap in the market is that business financial side that that has functions that aren't usually found in practice management software. And then there's also a lot of access to justice gaps, but the challenge with that is, capitalism, right? Like it's hard to
Right.
make money with those plays. And so people will, in order to get the investment or the investment primarily will go to for profit that are solving some need that's going to make a lot of money. So there's definitely some gaps in the access to justice. And there are some companies that serve it really well, but there aren't nearly as many of them as you'd hope. So,
Right. Yeah. Because I struggle with there's solutions out there that make it seem very easy to access wills, template things. And I'll have companies that'll come to me, typically not law firms, but that's my primary focus is working with law firms. But I'll have friends and family who are like, hey, I'm going to start a business. And I'll say, hey, did you get your tax ID number? Did you register with the state? And they're like, oh, I just did a thing on the internet. I'm like, oh, but did they include you need an operating agreement or if you have partners? Oh, no, we'll be fine. I'm like, no, call an attorney. So there's definitely the gaps there. And it's interesting from my perspective to be able to see that there's certain things there's solutions for, but I'm like, they're not the best solution. So really, there's certain things you're just never going to cut out. I hear a lot of people that are like, oh my gosh, AI is coming after my job. And I'm like, no, I think AI has a long ways to go, but we're not creating robots that are literally replacing people. So I find that lawyers are not going away. Law firms are not going away, but there's definitely a lot of tech out there that can just make jobs so much easier. And I got involved with AffiniPay through the Smart Spend. So I had made some comments about Smart Spend and was asked, hey, can we take this offline and talk about it? And then that's how I met a couple different people through AffiniPay. And it's been this great experience to be able to meet people working in a company that's truly trying to understand what the problems are and how to make the things that fix the problems. It's just an amazing environment. So I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited that I'm on the fringe of it, but it's nice to have such a supporting environment to be in. And it's collaborative, like just from me being an outsider. And it's refreshing. And when I talk to other attorneys and I'm like, if you're not in the AffiniPay world, you really should be. Like, this is a place that's really supportive. It may not be the perfect solution for what you're looking for, but it's what you need. And because every once in a while, somebody will say, it doesn't do that. My case doesn't do this. And I'm like, okay, but do you absolutely need it? And if you don't, have you asked, is it possible? Can they, because you guys are open to feedback. So it's definitely, I like the mentality, the forward thinking part of it, of AffiniPay, just overall.
yeah,
No,
it's a nice job. Yeah. It's a great company.
yeah, no, absolutely. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I try to keep my podcasts pretty short, but I've really enjoyed talking to you today. And thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. Hopefully your next big scoop when you're finally able, you're like, oh, Kelley, let's do podcasts. I'm sure that won't be the case, but
Never know.
trust me, if you ever want to release anything, I'm right here.
All right. Good to know. Awesome.
So, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And have a good afternoon.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you.